Hi everyone, to those who are joining, we are going to wait for 5 minutes until everyone is around. We're due to start at 2 o'clock, but I can see people joining. Adam, Jane, Joanne, Marianne, sure, there's a lot of people joining. This is so great. Thank you for joining us. We will get going at 2 p.m. As you can see while you're joining, here in my home office, implementing some self-isolation. So we felt like it was the responsible thing to do. And so you might see some funny paintings on the wall behind me from my son. But welcome everyone as you're joining. Welcome. We're going to start officially at 2 p.m. So in this time now, we'll just wait as everyone joins. Whilst we are waiting, if you could just find, here's a test. So we're running a webinar on this, and some of you might have done a webinar before, but if you haven't, no problem at all. Let's see if you can get to the chat of this Zoom webinar and just let us know where you're joining us from. So we'd love to know where everyone is joining us from. We obviously can't see that. We don't know where you're joining from. So please do let us know by coming onto the chat. So find the chat icon and the chat control on your Zoom, and then let us know. Margot from Santon, welcome. Joanne from Durban, welcome. We're also, all three of us, Crispian, Chris, and myself, James, are all from Durban and coming to you live from Durban as well. Benoni, welcome.
Yeah. Condia from Benoni was at Schoolscape. He mailed us today, James. I think he intended to mail you, but he mailed me. Condia will get your students on board. I believe you're having some issues with the onboarding process. We'll help you with that today.
Great. Oh yeah, and if you're writing a message, when you type in your message, you'll see a little tab above the message which says to all panelists. If you want your messages to go out to everyone, just make sure you click all panelists and attendees, because otherwise only us panelists will be able to see the messages you type. So when you type in the message, just make sure the drop down says all panelists and attendees.
Hi, Alinza from Rosecorp. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hofman de Toy van Bellville Hoërskool af. Welkom. Bellville is one of our NBT partner schools, so we'll be seeing you later in the year.
We're hoping we'll see you in person, but we might also see you online, depending. Right, so we are about 2 minutes out from beginning. We've got a fair amount of people joining. Thank you. We've got already 31 people joining us for this explanation webinar. So to those of you who are joining, who have just joined, we'd love you to let us know where you are from, where you're joining us from. So just find the chat part of your Zoom webinar, and then just let us know where you're joining from. So to Mars, this webinar will likely be about between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on questions, and that's what we've planned for Mars. And yeah, so we will hopefully not take too much of your time, but take the necessary length of time to be helpful to explain to you how you can best use our resources at this time. Welcome, Dion. Okay, it is 2 p.m., so let's get going. Firstly, to just introduce myself, I know that there'll be many people probably still joining, but to introduce myself, I'm James Lees. I'm part of the team here at AdvantageLearn.com, and we have decided to host this webinar, as you will already know, since you've signed up, to really try and help both teachers, parents, and learners to get the most out of our platform over this time that schools are shut. So on Sunday this last week, we really were knocked by our president's call to action to the nation to band together and be helpful to each other in this time of national shutdowns. And the schools are obviously greatly affected because they've been asked to close from as of Wednesday this week. And when we heard this news, we thought, hey, this is a time where we've put in hard work and a lot of effort over the past few years to build up resources, and perhaps our resources might be helpful at this time when learning cannot happen in a bricks and mortar classroom. And so we decided to make it available for free over the period that COVID-19 shuts down schools. And this webinar is really to explain to you, to walk you through the platform and what exists right now, and to help you to try and utilize the AdvantageLearn.com maths offering over this period that schools are shut down. And so we're lucky to have two of the experts here. That's Chris Muller, if you can just raise your hand there, Chris, in the white t-shirt. That's Chris Muller. Chris is our Chief Technology Officer at AdvantageLearn.com, and he has been in the trenches building our solution since day one of 2015. So there's no better person who to know the technology than Chris, and we hence have asked him to be present at this this webinar so that he can answer any of the technical questions that might come up, and also to hear your thoughts and see if we can be helpful in any ways to kind of adapt, if possible, quickly to help build the curriculum in a way that's helpful to all of you as we journey through this shutdown. And then to Chris's right is Crispian, and Crispian is the brains behind putting together the structure of our free maths offering in terms of the curriculum and the videos and how it's all put together. And so he heads up our education team who are tasked with producing all of this valuable content. And so he's worked with the maths expert who has led this, Trish Pike, who is also Crispian and my mother, who taught us maths as well, funny enough. But we've really worked with her to then go and architect it in a way that we think is best for learning. So before we jump into the solution, I want to do a little quick draw with all of you. I know most of you have joined onto the webinar chat. But the quick draw challenge that we would like to start off with in this webinar is to see who can find the place to raise their hand the quickest. So please raise your hand if you know how to raise your hand on Zoom.
We've got some sharp attendees.
Yeah,
we really do.
Looks like everyone's raised their hand.
Fantastic. We are talking to a very technology adept crowd. So to those of you who didn't find the raising your hand feature on Zoom, you can just click on your name, I believe. Hey, Chris and Chris, I'm seeing a different view here. To just raise your hand as a participant.
There's actually quite a predominant button at the bottom of your screen, which will, if you're on desktop, and on mobile, it'll be at the bottom of your mobile screen. It just says raise hand, and you can just click that. But make sure if you want to put down your hand that you click it again to lower your hand.
Great, thanks, Chris. So if everyone could lower their hands now, and then I will explain to you how best we can use this in the question answer session. Great, thank you. You can see everyone has lowered their hands except for Wowie P10 Light. If you could lower your hand as well. Okay, so we will be at the end of this, or if it is helpful to stop and pause for questions during this webinar at different stages, we will be using that raise your hand for questions, and you can also ask questions in the chat at any time. So if you are thinking of something and you want to ask a question, and even when our Crispian and Chris are walking through the platform, or if I'm explaining something, please do feel free to ask questions in the chat. And what we will do is we will stage up those questions, and then we will answer them when the time is right. So do feel free to ask that there. In the question answer session, as we go live for the question answer session, we would love to actually hear your questions verbally. And so you can raise your hand at that stage, and I'll explain it at that point, and then we can bring you on live with us, and we can talk about the platform. But without further ado, I think we must get straight into it. So a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us. What we are going to be walking through today is how best to utilize AdvantageLearn.com's maths video resources. And we've got the experts in the room, as I've explained, but for those of you who just joined, and they're going to be really walking through how you can best use this. Now, just to talk through the history of this solution, we realized that there was a significant gap to capture really experienced maths educators and produce their experience and their expertise in video form, in video teaching form. And so we embarked on this journey in early 2016 to start thinking about this. And we eventually started producing those videos late in that year and finished the full syllabus for CAPS by the end of 2019. So we have the full syllabus online. And what that is it's broken up into short videos. We've got over 2,000 of them from grade 8 all the way through to grade 12 and even AP Maths. So beyond that, structured in both topic and grade form, which will be explained. And along with that, we've been developing, we're hard at work. We've got a team that just develops practice questions in the every single day that gets populated for all of these sections. And really our hopes and dreams around this tool or this solution is that we can be the helping hand when the teacher is not available in a bricks and mortar classroom or in a tutor environment, or even to augment or support or enhance the learning in a bricks and mortar or face-to-face sense. And so that is why we created what we call Maths Online. And today we'll be walking you through it. So I'm going to hand over to Crispian now, and he's going to start showing you what Maths Online is, and then we will be getting into how best we can use it. So Crispian, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for joining us. So as James said, I'm going to take you through the platform and kind of orientate you on Maths Online, so that when you do want to leverage it for your learners or for your classes or for your children, you are better equipped to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen to all of you. And I'm going to take you through the platform in a step-by-step manner. So we've worked quite closely with a number of schools in terms of rolling out Maths Online within their offerings. So Redham House and Schlonga and Radley, which is one of the schools of our partners, Raise Corp, use Maths Online in their Redham at their maths support program. And Radley actually use it within their syllabus in support periods that are timetabled in. So we've worked quite closely, me and my colleague Adam Kinder, in terms of onboarding these learners. Emily as well has assisted us. And we've kind of grappled with how to use it in the school context, and we've got a fair amount of experience in that regard. So I'm going to take you through the platform, and I'm going to try and layer some insights on how you can implement it. And Chris will chime in at the same time because he has lots of excellent guidance in that regard, and as does James. So to start off with, I just want to make sure that my screen share is functioning correctly. James, all good on your side?
Yeah, this is the audience view.
Perfect.
Yes, all good on my side. Coming through very strongly. Nice. Great.
So to start off with, I think the most significant thing to start off with is if you are having trouble onboarding your learners onto Maths Online through the Educate, Don't Contaminate campaign, this is your starting point. The URL is advantagelearn.com/redeem. If you type that URL into your browser, you'll arrive on this page, and James and Chris built this seamless feature to onboard learners onto Maths Online in a very easy way. So in the Redeem Your Gift field, you would just simply enter Educate, Don't Contaminate, and I believe it's not case sensitive. So you type that in, hit Redeem, and it'll take you through a flow to create an account for you on AdvantageLearn.com. and then it will enroll you onto our learning management system and onto our dashboard. I'm not going to go through that process right now, but I just did want to explain it to you. Condia, I know you sent me an email today mentioning that your learners had a bit of issues. I hope that explanation has solved it for you. If it hasn't, let us know a bit later on when we field some questions so that we can understand where the blocks are. But that's how simple it is to get onto the platform. Like I said, once you follow that process of redeeming the Educate, Don't Contaminate gift, you will then log in onto the profile that you've just created, and you'll arrive on the My Dashboard page. So this is kind of the home page of our learning management system, and it shows you all of our offerings. Maths Online, the NVT courses, which we run both in person and online, and by live stream now as a result of the school closures, and our AP Maths courses, which we run online and at our in-person centers in Greenside, St. Henry's, and Westville Boys High School. I noticed Viv Helfer popped onto the webinar, so welcome, Viv. She's the HOD of Mathematics at Greenside, one of our close partners, and I was very glad to see you pop into the feed. Yeah, so on the dashboard here, what your learners are getting access to is this tile here, Maths Online. And I'm going to walk you through that right now. So if you click through the Maths Online tile, and we'll come back to the dashboard later and explain the other tiles and the other features on the dashboard, but if you click through to Maths Online right now, you would then arrive as a first-time login on the All Paths page. And initially, it wouldn't be filtered at all. Essentially, on the All Paths page, it will show you all the paths that are available to learners. And for your learners through this access, and generally for Maths Online, because Maths Online is normally a paid subscription service, it's ungated access to all the content on Maths Online. It's not like you only get access for your grade, or you only get access for your subject. You get for all grades and for all of the subject domains that are on Maths Online. And to speak to that, the subject domains that are on Maths Online currently, we have the full Maths course syllabus, as James alluded to. We have the Maths literacy syllabus from grade 10 to 12. And we also have advanced program mathematics paths, which have been updated to the revised IEP syllabus, that learners can leverage to help their learning. We then recently released university maths and university statistics support on the platform. So we have a university mathematics path, which we call the University Maths 101. Many of the university courses are suffixed with that kind of a number. And we have the University Statistics 101 path, which will essentially assist learners in those difficult first-year modules. They'll assist them quite thoroughly in their first semester, but also does go into second semester on some of the topics. So those are the subject domains. And as you've seen, as I've clicked through it, on the All Paths page, there's this helpful feature that filters for the paths that you've selected in terms of selecting your path. So what I'm just going to do for now is I'm going to take you into, I'm going to go into a Maths Core Grade 9 path. And the last element to this that I'd like to explain is the length. The paths are divided into full paths, which are full grade paths. So as you can see, I've filtered down to Maths Core Grade 9. That is essentially the full Maths course syllabus in a single learning path. And this learning path concept might be a little bit unfamiliar to you, but essentially it's the curriculum mapped out in a linear path format under the kind of concept that learning is a journey. So, and we take paths towards our destination. So it's kind of along those lines.
And it's not necessarily aligned to what your grade or your class at your school is the same. That your class might be going through a different path in terms of the topics are staggered at a different linear fashion, but we've kind of staggered it in a way that we think makes the most sense, but it doesn't mean you have to do it in that linear fashion. You can choose to do the third topic of a path before you do the first topic. So although we've laid it out in a linear fashion, you don't have to follow it in that linear fashion. You're not restricted in that way. So as an educator, you can pick and choose certain topics and areas within a full path and hone in on those and prescribe them to your learners and say, go and do trigonometry, go do algebra, go do calculus, and then they can pick and choose in those paths which areas they do and focus on. It's not a restricted linear fashion. It's a recommended or helpful linear fashion that then if you do the whole thing, you have covered the whole grade.
That's it. Yeah. So it is very much similarly aligned to the CAPS, the CAPS framework in terms of the way the path flows. But Chris is right. Trish, who's the subject matter expert behind all of our paths, with her decades of experience in leading maths departments at Kearsney College, Thomas More, working at St. Stithians when she was still in Joburg. She has tweaked the path somewhat because she does find that some concepts are better covered in a slightly different order because of the scaffolding of mathematics and how concepts build up, and sometimes laying the bricks in a slightly different order is very helpful from a learning perspective. So that's the all paths page, and now I'm going to dive into a path. So for a learner to start learning, they'd simply click start this path, and that would take them into one of our learning paths. I've gone into the Maths Core Grade 9 path. In terms of our platform, and it's designed that a learner learns on one path at a time, but they are able to switch between paths at any time. And I note this right now because sometimes it's a little bit of a stumbling block on the back end of the platform, where learners forget to switch paths and then they have difficulty learning on a specific path. So if you encounter any issue like that, just remember they have to switch paths to learn on the next path. But the system is designed that they have ungated access to all of the content on Maths Online. So they shouldn't have any learning blocks in terms of switching between paths. So for instance, I'm going to start this path. So I've just clicked the orange button, which will start this path. And we've gone into the first lesson of the Maths Core Grade 9 path. And there's Trish Pike on the video in the first lesson. And I'm going to dive into, I'm scrolling down the left-hand side here, which gives you the layout of the learning path, which is broken down into modules. And within modules, there are lessons. And the fundamentals to our lessons are that they center around a video lesson. And we've really been quite intentional in trying to produce the highest quality learning videos that are out there. A lot of learning videos that are out there are simply screencasts. Some of them are PowerPoint based with text prompts that pop up. But we've tried to be very deliberate in the way we produce our learning videos to make it as natural as possible and as similar to the classroom environment as possible. Because there's no doubt that the classroom environment is a very powerful place to learn. And so we've tried to learn from those aspects. So looking down the module path, I'm going to dive into this module, exponent simplification, and I'm going to navigate to this lesson, expressing to a negative exponent. It tells us that the lesson is 3 minutes long. We try to make the lessons very small and bite-sized and incremental so that learners can get a nice, can gather momentum in working through the path and don't have to get bogged down by a very long lesson. And I'm going to give you an idea of how the video lessons work. So I'm just going to play this video lesson for you and show you how Trish teaches the various concepts. So I like to skip ahead past the introduction just to get to the actual teaching aspect. And I think many of you who follow Stephen Sproul, one of the leading minds in mathematics in South Africa, would have heard him often say, you don't learn maths, you do maths. Maths is a very applied subject. And that's how our videos are built. Trish goes through the examples with learners. It's not, theory is covered when necessary, but the applied nature of maths is very important. So we achieve this via this annotation, which is very natural to learners, because learners write maths, they don't type maths as you would on a whiteboard in your classroom. And so you can see it's quite a natural experience. And we also keep the educator in view, because learning is not just a technical process, it's also an emotional process and a psychological process. And sometimes having a face that you can relate to is helps with that learning process. So that's the video lesson. And every video lesson is accompanied with a downloadable worksheet below, whereby that worksheet is exactly what Trish covers in the video lesson. So to give guidance on how your learners should use the platform, the best way is actually to download the worksheets and attempt it themselves. And then if they have problems, to go to the video and close their learning gaps. And in order to kind of make that process a bit more efficient, what we also have below each video is an answer sheet, where just the answers to those questions are available in a downloadable PDF. And so a learner can quickly check whether or not they got the answer right. And if they did, that's great. They can move forward. They don't need to watch the lesson, but they can also quickly identify which questions they got wrong and which videos they do need to watch because they aren't doing so well. So yeah,
this is a good time, I think, to interject and answer. I'm going to preempt the question where people might ask, can this lesson be done on multiple devices? And we have built, it's a web application. We have built the web application in a way that it is accessible using mobile smartphones, tablets, and desktop PCs and laptops. So you can use a range of different devices to access the web app through advantagelearn.com through your browser. We do recommend using Chrome as the browser. If not Chrome, then Safari or Firefox are also suitable. But it is accessible through any of these devices. As long as you have a stable internet connection and any of these devices, you can access these lessons, log in, and start learning and downloading the worksheets to those devices. And the videos should stream across those devices without a hitch.
Yeah, with no problems.
Yeah.
Great. So that's a learning video, and we just covered expressing to a negative exponent. The answer sheets that are in the platform.
Chris, sorry, just to just come in here, we've had some questions. So as has been pointed out by Margot and Yaku, thank you for letting us know. The sound of the video wouldn't have come through because Zoom blocks that sound unless we. So when we're playing it via the same webinar, so unfortunately it wouldn't have come through. So when you've got a chance, log into the website or log into advantagelearn.com and play a video for yourself. We won't hear it, don't worry, and you can see how Trish sounds over the video on there. But the gist of it is that's how she teaches on that video, and then her voice would come through. So I just wanted to, sorry Chris, I just wanted to just.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and
please
also
feel free to interject with questions.
And also, I have noticed that a lot of people are still not using the all panelists and attendees when you're using the chat. So we have seen a lot of people chatting to us, but only the panelists can see your chat. If you want it to be open to everyone and everyone to kind of create the conversation and see what you're asking, just when you're typing a message in the chat for this webinar, just make sure the drop down is set to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists.
Yeah, it's as we always try to say in our lessons, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Often the question you're asking is very relevant to other people. So I imagine all the educators on the feed are nodding their heads in terms of that learning philosophy. So that's a lesson. Once a learner's completed a lesson, they simply complete the lesson, and in that way their progress is tracked through the platform. They can pick up where they left off. They know what percentage completion rate they have in a path, and then it takes you on to the next lesson. So it's quite a simple platform. But in terms of the build, and I think Chris can attest to that, we kind of figured out that oftentimes simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, to not be corny, but sometimes really complex platforms are unhelpful because they're difficult to navigate.
Yeah, we've really tried to stay focused on the fundamentals of the learning, really bringing through the high quality videos, access to the notes, and just making a simple flow with easy navigation on the left-hand side and a focus on the video in the middle. So the learners can just focus on the learning, get the access to the notes, and follow through this learning path as easy as possible.
Exactly. So then what you'll find, and I must say with the answer sheets, just to be upfront, the answer sheets do not appear in absolutely every lesson. We're busy building those out into the platform. We've discovered that they're very helpful to learners. So you might find some lessons where there aren't an answer sheet, but rest assured they will be up very soon in that regard. And then the other thing you'll find is test your understandings or quizzes within the modules. So here is a quiz on algebra and exponents, which is the topic that we are doing, and this is what a quiz would look like. Essentially, it would assess the learners on similar questions that were covered in the video lesson, and then if you complete the quiz, they'll get a degree of answer feedback to let them know whether they got the questions right or wrong. And you can see here we actually feedback with the worked answer in a text format, and indicate which one, how to get to the right answer. So unfortunately, I got everything wrong there. All right, so that's the platform. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on to, so I've explained a path, I've explained a lesson. I'm going to now explain another very powerful feature within the platform, and that is lesson search, which you'll find on your left-hand navigation bar. And if you click through to lesson search, I'm going to do that now. Chris and his team have built this incredibly powerful platform. It's just chugging away on my side. Yeah, it will open shortly. I actually have the tab open. If you click through to lesson search, there's this incredibly powerful feature. It's loaded on the other tab. That whereby learners, if they're struggling with a specific concept, they can literally just search on that concept, and they can find a lesson that is relevant to them. So here's a list of lessons. It's out of our 3,200 lesson bank that we have on Maths Online. But if I were to search for something, for instance, let's take an advanced program mathematics topic, for instance, perhaps implicit differentiation, then I would find a lesson, and I would see, oh, differentiating implicitly, it appears in the university maths paths, as you can see here, but it also appears in the AP Maths grade 12 revised syllabus of 2020. And you can then very quickly click through, and I'm going to open this in a new tab, to that lesson, and close your gap on implicit differentiation quite quickly. And there's Trish again, ready to teach you implicit differentiation. So the lesson search function is really powerful. I just wanted to touch on that. Chris, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I think the only thing to add there is you can also search by path or by topic. So you can filter at the top there. You can see there's a filter here for paths and a filter here for topics. But we do generally recommend just actually typing in the search. It's the easiest and fastest method to finding what you want. But yeah, I'm just basically embellishing on the fact that there are other filters as well as the search there. And you can increase the number of lessons you're finding through this drop down here. So you can display 100 lessons at a time, and then you'll see there are a lot of lessons available.
Yeah. So that's really helpful in terms of finding exactly where you need to be. And now that we've showed it more from a learning perspective, I think we're going to switch focus now to more from an educator and a parent perspective in terms of how do you help your learner, your child, your students to learn and keep track of them. And that is all done via your dashboard and via this learner following feature over here, which is this tile on the middle right in terms of the 3x3 grid, but bottom right if you're only in that view. So the other tiles I won't really go into. My account is generally where you address your account aspects. If you do have a subscription service with us, then that's where you would administrate that. My progress is where you can see exactly what you have done on the platform. Homepage is simply to get you back to the homepage of our website if you need to navigate back to that. This grade 12 past papers feature, it's a good thing to mention. It's incredibly powerful. This is an absolutely free feature on our website where we've made all the IEB and DBE past papers available and really well sorted. Adam and Chris spent hours getting that thing to be the best repository of past papers in South Africa. There's no doubt that it is. And so that's a great feature. And then the Maths High Performance Academy is something that we run weekly from Redham House in Clonga, but in an online live stream format. So I'm going to dive into learner following here. If you click through to learner following, this tab will open up, and you'll see that.
Let's go through to learner following.
Yes, sorry, I've gone to class following. So I'm going to learner following. You'll land initially on this tab, and you'll see I'm following a hell of a lot of learners here, but you can get insights into the learning of learners that you are following, and it shows you who the learner is, the last lesson that they've covered, how many active courses they're on, what their current path is, and when their last login here is. And Wahid Amanji, who was one of the matriculants from last year, without being divulging too much user data, he's one of our top users, and he appears at the top. And then in close second is one of actually our team members who's done a hell of a lot of work on the back end in terms of configuring our lessons and our structures and stuff. And that's Adam Kinder. I believe he is on the webinar. I'm just checking how we're doing. He'll be sure to let us know later. So that's learner following. Do you want to add anything before I go on to the following permissions?
No, I think, if you do follow a lot of learners here, you can search for their name in the top right-hand corner. And as you saw when Chris clicked on completed lessons, he filtered. So you can filter by last login dates, completed lessons, just by clicking on the top tabs there. But most of you, I assume, would be following a class at most. So this shouldn't be too difficult to navigate the learner following tabs.
Exactly. So how do you actually engage with learner following? It's via this following permissions tab, where you can either share your learning with a new user via this input field on the right here. So if you type in another user's email address, it will share your learning with them, and then they'll be able to accept it on their profile. If you want to request learner following, then you would do the same thing. You would enter the email address of the learner that you would like to follow, and they would need to accept that request, and then you would be able to follow their learning. And here you can see all of the learners that I am following. I'm following a hell of a lot of learners, most of them Radley and Redham House and Flonga learners.
Yeah. The other, just to note here, if you are following a class and you have put your whole class on this solution during this period, you can send us a request where we will bulk activate the learner following for a teacher to follow a group of learners, so that you don't have to come in here and request each learner and then hope that they accept your request on the other side, because some learners might not want you tracking them. But if you are a teacher and you do have a class that you are wanting to follow over this period, we can do a bulk import where we will activate the following automatically for you. Just a note there.
Exactly. Cool. And then the last significant feature in this regard to share is this class following, which was recently released onto the platform to enable our Maths Online school partners to better leverage the platform. And that's where you as an educator can actually prescribe a path or prescribe a course or a module that you want your learners to do. And then in that way, and then you can actually go into that module and check which of your learners have done it. So for instance, I showed you the exponents simplification module, if you recall, in the grade 9 core path. So I'm gonna navigate to that module. Was it this one? Yeah, it was one. I'm gonna navigate to that, and what that'll do is it'll look into that module that I'm requesting, see which learners I'm following, and which of them have actually done anything within that module. So I'm gonna submit here and see if it returns any learners that I'm following. And yes, it returned me because I just completed a lesson there. Told me that I've completed 2 out of the 3 lessons in that module, because there were 2 video lessons and then a test your understanding. I completed the quiz. I didn't do very well, but I completed it. And so you can get insight into who's completed what you prescribed for them to do. And that for parents and educators is exceptionally powerful, because you can drive accountability in terms of online learning with your classes and make sure that they are continuing with their learning momentum. So I think from my side, I've gone through the platform pretty comprehensively. I can't really think right now if there's anything else I should go through. So I think, Christo, if there's anything you want to take.
Yeah, I think just before I jump in, James, I know that there's been some questions asked on the chat. If there's anything that we can hit while we're still in the platform and looking at it.
Absolutely. I've been trying to work through and answer the questions as it's been going. But I think, Crispian, before we jump into there, I think there is one helpful thing that we haven't mentioned yet, and that's that the students can get access to the support. The teachers can answer.
Yeah.
So I think if you can just walk through that part, it's a helpful one to know about.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Cool. So yeah, that is one layer. So we've really just walked you through the functionality on the platform and the content that's available. But one thing that is quite significant in terms of how we support learners is that we do offer live support from our team of educators, because inevitably there is a gap that a lesson can't close and a question that a learner has in their mind that needs to be asked. And we have got that functionality for learners. So by a lesson page, if they click Start Conversation or this live chat widget on the far right, either one will open the live chat function, and it'll enable learners to start a new conversation there and essentially ask something. So for instance, I'm dealing with exponents here, but I don't understand why there is a -1. Now, I'm going to post that and our team will get back to us, but as educators that are on this call will be pulling their hair out. It's an extremely badly phrased question, no context, not specific. But what's great is our support team, and I can see Adam's jumped on to help me. what's great is that our support team do have visibility into what lesson that I'm on, so they can actually, in that way, gather a bit of context to be more helpful, and then they will try and help me through my problem. Our educators have, there's some very cunning and smart learners out there who like to use our support feature as a homework tool to get their homework done. But we realize that, and we're very careful about not just doing the learner's homework, and rather to actually help them through the problem. So we generally ask them to share their working with us first, and then as a tutor or a teacher would, we try and hone in on the gap that they have and try and deal with that, and not just spoon feed the solutions. So yeah, Adam's looking into it. Thanks, Adam, for jumping onto that.
This is quite a powerful feature. The learners can actually submit pictures of the question if they don't have time to type it out, and also you can't type in all maths equations and that into this type box. So often, if they're struggling on a problem, they can take a photo of their workings and the question and submit it into the chat through the attachment button there. And we will receive the attachment image, and then we can also send them back a working answer via an image as well. So it's not limited to a text field. The support is quite dynamic, and we really try and assist the learners in the best way possible. Adam's just shown there an example of an image coming through from the support side.
So he's actually pulled up the note, he screenshotted the note that I'm dealing with, and he's trying to understand which of the negative ones I'm actually referring to, which is exactly the kind of support flow that we'll go through with the learners to try and help them. So thanks, Adam.
And one last note on the support feature is we do endeavor to make it accessible for as many hours of the day as possible, but obviously due to time constraints and working hours, and that at the moment we recommend, or we indicate that we will respond during working hours, so from about 8:30 to 4:30 during the day. But students can submit questions at any time of the day. We will just field those questions in the next working day.
Exactly. So
great.
Covered everything. Jim, over to you.
It's a great overview. Thank you, Chris and the Chris's. And so I think what's probably prudent now, just watching the time, is to open up for some question and answers, and to really get questions from all you learners, teachers, parents who are on this webinar, so that we can answer any questions that you might have. So I can see that anonymous attendee has asked a question already. So let's start this session of the Q&A. And what you'll see on your Zoom console is you'll see a Q&A section there. And so we would really like you to find the Q&A section and then to ask us any questions that you have there. We can then, if you are open to it, we can get you to answer, to ask those questions live, or even ask them live if you can. So I'm just going to start off while those questions are coming through, just to answer some of the questions that have been asked already. So I have tried to answer some of them as the chat has been happening through the course of this webinar, but to just deal with two of the questions that I staged up. So the first one was from Mars. Mars, you asked, how will we know when live lessons will occur? So we currently do live lessons for maths. It's something we're working on at the moment, and it's part of what we are calling the Maths Academy. But it is currently in its kind of trial phase at the moment, and those have been happening live weekly for a sample cohort, so we can test this out. And this has been happening over the last 2 months, and has been quite successful actually. But for this offering now, in terms of helping during COVID, the lessons are not live; they are video lessons, as Crispian and Chris have shown. So they're not live lessons. However, one of the things that we did do a call to action to educators on was, we've got the technologies that we built over the last couple of years, and we were really hoping that for educators who need to educate learners over this time, we could actually help from a technological perspective, and they would just need to get hold of us, and we need to just do a coordinated response. When we did open that up on Sunday evening and Monday, we didn't really realize the response from also other education providers that are also helping, which has been so great. So there are quite a few solutions for other subjects as well that can be leveraged in this time. But yeah, if you want to discuss further on that, please feel free to drop me an email. My email is james@advantagelearn. I'll put it into the chat, and I'll be happy to kind of engage further on that, because we really do want to try and be as helpful as we can over this time. All right, let's dive into, so the next question that I staged was from Ezra. And the question was, and Crispian, you're going to need to jump in on this one. Well, I think I can answer it, but I think you're best to answer it. And Ezra asked, so you guys also provide help with other subjects like physics, right? Over to you, being the lead on science.
So I've got a very strong background in science, being a chemical engineer by qualification, and I'm super passionate about science, physics and chemistry, and we've been working on getting this up for quite a number of years now, and we're almost there. So physics and chemistry are almost there, and they definitely will be available on the platform soon, but it isn't available right now. So what there is available from a physics perspective is some video lessons in terms of helping with past papers from a video perspective. So that is what is available currently, but our science content will be launching very soon.
Great, thank you. So I just clicked a anonymous attendee's question by mistake. So I'm just going to answer that one. So do you have any future plans on doing the earlier grades? The answer to that is yes, most definitely. We are currently thinking about that quite a lot, where we are looking into the foundational teaching of mathematics. So at lower grades, grade 7, grade 6 down. And we are currently working on it. We do have plans for that. And if you subscribe to our mailer, which is gone to advantagelearn.com, there's at the bottom in the footer of the website, there's a mailer there. We keep everyone updated on our plans in this regard. So the different elements that we're trying to do. And Joanne, yeah, I agree. Echo that completely. Foundation phase is essential, and we do realize that, and we are going to be working hard on that in the future. Right, next anonymous attendee. Hi, I would like to know if you guys can assist with physics. So Crispian has just mentioned that. We are working on physics in the background, and there's a lot of it that has already been done. So he's just covered that, and I hope that answers your question. And then Jaco, can pupils download at school and play at home if they don't have connectivity? This one always makes me really sad that we haven't had the opportunity to finish this technology yet. There's a lot that we need to do in regard to digital rights management, etc., around this solution. And so we don't have that technology right now. We are working on it so that we can offer it without internet, but at the moment it's just available on web. And so the way that we've seen people approach this, if they don't have connectivity at home, is that they either learn at their school, which obviously with school shut down, if they don't have internet at home, it's going to be problematic, and we do realize that, or they coordinate with friends and family to learn at a space where there is access to the internet. One thing we have been mindful of is providing our internet at a low enough bandwidth that doesn't compromise the learning quality. So we really are mindful with the video sizes and allowing options there. We're not going to go push them into full HD when they really don't need to be. So we're mindful of that. And so, yeah, to answer your question, unfortunately not. We are working on that. We also are in the background working on, over this time, trying to get our platform 0 rated with some of the telecommunications providers so that it doesn't cost people data. That's happening in the background. Right, Hilda, thanks for your question. When the situation we are in now passes, how do we apply to have our kids access to this platform? What would it cost? Thank you, Hilda. Well, thanks for that question, Hilda. So we've really tried to create this math solution in a sustainable way so that we can self-sustain learning on maths online over time. And so before we took this for free over this period, we were offering it out at 299 Rand a month per user. And that's for someone to subscribe to us directly. And yeah, our pricing was based on the cost to support both of our teachers in the background and the value of the lessons that are being learned. And it was a lot cheaper than students having to go to tuition once a week. And we really have seen some great performance from learners who have used it as a substitute in that regard. Yeah, but then as it relates to a kind of more bulk kind of subscription with schools, and that obviously the more learners that we're providing for, the cheaper economies of scale can be leveraged, and so those costs will come down. So if we talking to a school for a bulk package, all of those we can then discuss the costs around those. Yeah, so that's.
And then just to mention on the individual basis that we not only have the month-to-month payment option, which is 299 Rand a month, but we also have a 6-monthly payment, or you can subscribe for a full year, and in that way you can also there are also discounts that are applied for more extended access and more extended commitment to the platform.
Great. Are there any other questions? All right. So we've taken you through the maths online solution that we've offered. There obviously is a lot of there might be a lot of questions that come out as you use this. As if you're an educator that's going to use it with your learners over this time, you might have questions. And you might need to ask us. We are available. The easiest way to get hold of us is to go straight onto advantagelearn.com, and then as you saw Chris ask the question to one of the teachers, you can ask a question in exactly the same way, and we will then get back to you with that. One of the interesting parts of this that we're really excited to explore, especially with educators, is how we can best help you to get your learners to learn what they need to in this time. So we really would like feedback. We really would like any suggestions that you have. Any suggestions are welcome to all your educators who do use this with your learners, because we would like to try and make this as helpful as possible for you over time. And so do get in touch with us. I've dropped my email there. You can get hold of me directly, or you can use the live chat widget on our website to get hold of us. But we would love to hear from you. There's another interesting part to the platform where obviously all of our lessons have got unique identifiers to them that we've built. And so we are, if you wanted to prescribe definite lessons to your students, then you can actually go ahead and pull out the lessons that you think are the ones that you want them to do, and then actually just send those directly to them. And so I think one of the items before we close on the kind of platform part, I would just like, Chris, would you just mind screen sharing again and just showing where that identifier sits?
Yeah, sure. And just while I'm doing this, we are going to be sharing this webinar with you guys after the session, so you can then share on the webinar to people who might not have been able to make the session, and they can watch the webinar if you found it helpful, because I think we've seen a lot of messages coming through that people found it really helpful. So we'd obviously like to share it with you guys so you can share it on to other people who might find it helpful. So
great.
Okay, so as you can see, the lessons here, they all have unique codes in the top. So the URL is actually what makes them unique. And you can see, for example, this Maths Core Grade 9 Path starting lesson. It actually has this code at the top called MCOALGBAS1401. And if you copied that link and actually shared it with your learners, they would be able to then go and access that lesson directly. If they aren't on the path which the lesson is on, as Crispian was mentioning earlier, it will then give them a list of the paths that lesson is part of, and they can actually go and start that path, and it'll take them back to the lesson as part of that path. So the way we built the system is that the lessons are independent of the paths, so that one lesson can sit in multiple paths. And that's obviously been very helpful for us when we were building the solution, because we have grade 9 paths, and then within grade 9 there's areas like trigonometry and algebra and calculus, and one lesson will sit in multiple paths. And so if you find a lesson that you want to share with your learners, you can easily share it with them. And if they aren't in the path that the lesson is in, then they can switch to that path, and then their progress will be tracked within that path. The other way of finding a lesson without actually going in and copying the URL from the lesson page is to go to lesson search, and then you find the lessons which you want. You can even go and choose a whole topic that you want to prescribe. I'll just let it load. So we could go to the algebra grade 10 path, choose in this path there's quite a few lessons, but you can then just simply right click on the right hand side and click copy link address without opening the lesson in a new tab, and you can paste those into a spreadsheet or something like that, and then you can share that list of URLs with your learners, and they'll be able to access that kind of group of lessons and do them as you intended.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. So we've got a question that's just come through from Condia, and that's around doing AP Maths online with us. So I'm just going to answer it quickly live, because it's easier to just do this verbally. AP Maths was actually how we started AdvantageLearn.com, and we then, once we started running in-person centers, we realized that there was a big need to run AP Maths online. And so we built Advanced Program Maths, AP Maths online as a course running from grade 10 all the way through to grade 12. So they do year courses, year programs with us. And we run it through the full year. And to answer your question directly as to how we assess during that course, it depends on whether it's through a school or whether it's a parent. So I'm going to answer both of those. So for example, when a school, like we've got school partners who do AP Maths online with us, because Advanced Program Maths is quite a hard subject to fit into the school curriculum. So we offer it as an extra curriculum online course. And when a school partners with us on that, we really work closely with the school on the Advanced Program Maths course. And so we liaise with the school to let them know how the cohort is doing. And then when assessments happen, we have a number of assessments through the year. We have online assessments that are done via our platform, which means that the learners can do it on their own at home. And then we have in-person exams and assessments as well, and those are administered through the school with that facilitator at the school, and the papers are sent back to us in digital form, and our team then marks it and then gives the results back. So that's at a school level. At a parent level, it's much the same. We send the assessments through to the parent at a point in time. They then will administer the assessment with the student. It works largely on a trust basis with that parent to ensure that that they are tested in the right format. We really encourage the parents to stick to it, because the reality is that the learners, when they get to grade 12, will be required to write the exam in person at an IB center. And so we need to prepare those learners for that. And so we guide the parents on how to administer that. But it just depends who has put the learners on. If it's a school, we work with the school, and that it works really well. If it's with a parent, it's with the parent, and that also works very well. And we've had great results through working like that over the past few years. And so that's our AP Maths assessments.
If I could just add to that, Jim, I think the one thing that might be a bit confusing to people out there is the fact that we have AP Maths Online as a course, and then we also have AP Maths as paths within Maths Online, and it's sometimes confusing for educators and learners which one is appropriate for me. And I just want to give that a bit of an explanation, and that is, our AP Maths Online course is, first of all, it's a guided course. We have an AP Maths coach who checks in with the learners on a weekly basis and makes sure that they're working at the rate that they need to be to get through the course. And so there's a very high touch element to the actual online course from that perspective. But over and above that, the actual course, we administer all of the assessments. We set the assessments, we mark the assessments, we do all of that. Whereas if a learner were to leverage Maths Online to do AP Maths, it's simply a supplementary resource with video lessons and notes. Assessments will not be administered through Maths Online for advanced program mathematics, and the learners will not be helped through the course in the way that they are with our AP Maths Online course. So that's a little bit of an area where some confusion arises. Obviously, right now, the AP Maths paths in Maths Online are free because we've opened up the platform. Unfortunately, we won't be able to have the platform open indefinitely. But then in that case, learners can get access to the AP Maths Online paths via the subscription fee, which is currently 299 Rand a month. But in many cases, the course is the right option for the learners because it is higher touch. We engage with the parents and the schools in a very active way to keep them up to date in terms of how their learners are doing, where they're at, and all of that.
Great, thanks. Versha, I'd love to bring you on live to ask you a question if you wouldn't mind. So I'm going to allow you to talk if you're open to it. If you're not, that's fine. I'll try to answer it best from here. So I'm going to allow you to talk on the webinar. See if you can come online and we can hear you, and then we can talk to you about this, getting your learners access to the videos.
Hi.
Hi, Versha. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks so much for asking a question, for joining us. Yeah, so do you want to just, what's your question, Versha?
Do I have to have the learners register via that, redeem the voucher first, or can I already just send them the link and say, can you watch this video? Or do they have to be registered on your site first?
Yes, they have to be registered on our side. There's obviously a lot of data and privacy agreements that have to go through with anyone using our technologies, and that's required by law in South Africa. And so we need people to register to then go and access the platform, because our platform is more than just the videos as you saw through the work through. It also has questions and answers and that. So data is getting collected, and so we need to observe the law. And the way that we can do that in a helpful manner is by making sure they register to our platform. It also allows us to store the learning data of the learners, so that they are helped as well. So they know which lessons they've done. They know, how they're progressing, all of that, which is most helpful to them as well. If you do have learners that, like, let's say, well, let me ask you, Virsha, are you an educator? You're a teacher who has a couple
of... Grade 10, 11, and 12. Yes.
Great. Where do you teach?
I'm teaching at Sri Bharat Damandi School. My concern is we have made contingency plans of where all educators will be sharing links on SharePoint. But now you must know public will also have access to these links. So if I put the link to your video, other learners who are not in my class will also have access to that link, to your URL. So that's why I'm asking you is, will learners be prompted if they are not registered that they have to register first before they have access to your videos?
Yes, they will.
Yeah. Yeah, what we can do is we'll make what it would do if you are not logged in and you get a link like that, it'll take you to our login page, and it's great you're bringing this up, because it helps us help the learners in a more helpful manner. We will add a link to the redeem page on the login page, so that if learners do get served the login page and they're unsure of where to go to next, we will make sure that it's easy for them to get to the redeem page to activate their free subscription, and then access the lessons after that.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Pleasure. Nice to hear from you. Thank you for asking it in person. Appreciate it. All right, so we've got two more questions that have come through. One from Vivian and one from Yaku. So I will answer Vivian. I think yours is pretty clear and straightforward. We can answer it. But Yaku, I know you've had a number of questions. I'd actually like to hear from you, if you wouldn't mind coming on live, and then we can talk through this, because I think it might be an interesting discussion for all. So let me just find you and allow you to talk quickly. All right, there you are. Yaku, if you are able to, then come online while I'm answering Vivian's question. Vivian, what do I do to get the learners to register? We've got all of this on a helpful web page that I'm going to send out onto this chat group now. So I'll post it there, and it's pretty simple. You can also just, it'll explain everything to you there, but we've also added the actual details of what code to use when you do sign up onto our redeem page as well. So I'm just going to grab that for you in a URL form, and then I'll post it onto the group, so you can use that. But your learners just need to go to that page, and then they just need to simply use the code to register, and they will get access straight away. So yeah,
I'll also send you an email directly with the process to help the Greenside learners, for sure.
Yeah, I think we can also do a more coordinated approach on that as well for you guys as well. But definitely, there's the link to the redeem. Cool. Yaku, if you're there and you are able to talk. If you're not, then that's fine. Just let us know on the chat. If pupils sign up during COVID, what happens if it expires? Will they be able to be allowed to continue on a paid basis? The answer to that is yes, definitely.
Thank you.
We are working working behind the scenes on this, and yeah. So depending on how long this goes for, we've committed as an organization to supporting this. and we've obviously got bills to pay ourselves and to keep the doors open on this side so that we can continue providing these services and trying to build these educational solutions, because we do think there's value to them. So we will send out a notice on how that will work to all users and learners post or when we're getting close to the shutdown, and we'll support it through the shutdown, throughout the shutdown, so long as it doesn't go on for too long, and we can keep the doors open. And so with regards to that as well, just Jaco, if there is if you are speaking from a kind of school point of view, what's also very helpful is just to engage with us directly. If you do want to look at it for a school or a larger organization, then as I said earlier, let's rather talk and see what we can do in that regard moving forward. Because we're hoping that learners and teachers will find this beneficial, and then if there is that opportunity to work together into the future and really step up maths education in South Africa, then we're on board. That's what we live and breathe every day. So yeah.
Thank you so much. We are really looking from the school side. Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Hi, Jaco.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm from Christchurch Midrand in Johannesburg, and we are looking at it from a school side because I teach grade 10s, 11s, and 12s. And we went into holiday now, early holiday, due to the COVID, and we want to most probably, if it reopens on the 14th, all's well. But if it doesn't, we will be looking at definitely subscribing to something like this to just assist our grade 12 specifically for the IAB curriculum. So that brings me to the next question. This is IAB aligned as well as CAPS aligned, am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for what you guys are doing.
No, pleasure, Jaco. And thank you for being here and for being so active in this webinar. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Right, Hilda, I see there's a question from Hilda I just want to address there. You have shown that you have links for first-year university students. Yes, they can, by all means. If they would like to use the university support paths to kind of learn ahead of time with their mathematics at a university level, please do. That's actually something we built in the last month. It's just something that can help university students as well, because our video lessons actually go into a first year university level. So we are able to help there as well. So please, Hilda, if you've got anyone who wants to use it, by all means, go for it. Right. That's going to bring our Q&A to a close. Again, and the webinar officially to a close. Chris is going to do a little walkthrough of Chris Muller just sharing his experience on online learning and learning the best practices with online learning. So we will give a bit of time to Chris now to just walk through that, but please feel free to drop off this webinar at this time. I know we've had over an hour of your time, and we're very grateful. We're very grateful for the feedback. So do feel free to drop off should you need to go and do something else. But I certainly would like to hear what Chris has to say. So I'm going to hang around and listen. And if you do, please do. Chris is a very avid learner. He has taught himself how to code over many years, and he's done it all online. And so he's really learned a lot of lessons, and those can be very helpful to teachers to know for their learners and also for themselves and in their own online learning and professional development. But we're going to go to that part of this webinar now. But I am conscious of the time that we have already taken of yours, and we really do thank you for being here. So feel free, it's not rude. If you need to drop off this webinar, you can drop off at any time. And we will share this webinar out, and we have recorded it. So provided the technology has all worked, we will share this webinar out with you all over email. Please do make sure you subscribe to our mailer so that you do get this webinar, because we do share it over that, and we will share it on socials as well. So check out our Facebook page, Advantage Learn, and like it, and we'll share it there. Great. So Chris, over to you to give us some tips.
Just ask one thing for people who might drop off. Please, if you have any feedback for us on the platform from your learners or from the educators, we are all ears. It's really helpful to get feedback from educators and learners on the ground trying to use the platform and where the pitfalls are. So please, that would be such a great thing to hear from the learners and educators.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Cool. Yeah, I won't take a lot of your time. We just thought we'd round it off with something a little bit softer than talking through a digital solution, and just giving a bit of my experience with online learning and how I've engaged and how it's kind of changed my life, and how we really feel that there's a lot of power in online learning, and this pandemic has given us a platform to really expose the wider communities and the communities around us to online learning, whereas before it was more of a scary, daunting thing where people were quite unsure about it. So earlier, last year, I think, or earlier this year, we went to the EduTech conference, and I gave a talk about how learning online actually enables us to become better at delivering online learning solutions. And in that talk, I chatted to the audience about how when you are Googling or just doing your day-to-day things with interacting with the internet, reading Wikipedia, reading articles, reading blogs, all of that is online learning. So online learning is not this big beast where you need to subscribe to courses and spend hours at a time learning online. Learning online can be little bits and pieces that you are engaging with the internet, engaging with digital content on a daily basis. And when you really bring it down to those fundamentals of just engaging with digital content and consuming it and growing your personal knowledge and building up your personal skills, whether it's a how-to guide on YouTube of how to cook a risotto or doing a handstand on YouTube, all of that is online learning. So online learning doesn't need to be this big scary thing where you need to change your whole perception of how you're going to learn something different to how you would learn it in a school. It's just another mechanism of consuming knowledge. And as James said, I really have embraced online learning. My trade is because of online learning. I studied my master's in economics, and then after 7 years of doing that, I had a change in career, and I joined Advantage Learn, and I've taught myself to become a software engineer over the last 6.5 years with Advantage Learn. And obviously, when you're doing it on a daily basis, it is quite easy to find the time, but it definitely wouldn't have been possible to be working in this trade without online learning. It's quite bizarre that you can be a professional these days without opening a textbook or gone to a single lecture. It's all possible through online learning. And aside from the technical career aspects, from a personal growth point of view, I've taught myself Spanish and French through digital tools and digital apps and audio lessons. So online learning is not also limited to videos or one method or medium of consuming digital content. It can be audio, it can be text, it can be images, it can be videos, it can be interactive like a quiz. So we really embrace that idea and embody that idea of learning online, consuming, and not just limiting yourself to the necessary learnings of learning to pass an exam. It's also about personal growth. So at the EduTech conference, we really encourage the educators there to not just look at online learning as a way to deliver their profession and to deliver to their students, but also to embrace themselves as educators and get out there, and the resources are endless. You can learn how to deliver better lectures. You can learn how to do anything on a personal level, on a professional level, as well as the personal level, like the languages or cooking or, it really is, it's all out there. So yeah, just as a closing note from our side, we really, obviously this pandemic has really shocked the world, and it's going to take a lot of bucking together and the world coming together to get through it. But it is online learning's, it is an opportunity for online learning. The silver lining is that it's an opportunity for online learning to shine and for people to embrace it as a real medium for professional and personal growth. And so we're hoping that through our contribution through this maths program that we're offering for free, we can really help people to get through this and also help the online learning industry as a whole in the South African context. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to contact us. James has already dropped his email there. You can also, if you have any questions regarding online learning or my journey through it, you can also send me an email at chris@advantagelearn.com. That's Chris with an H. And yeah, I'm happy to field any questions. As the guys have said, I'm really passionate about learning and self-development. So yeah, I don't shy away from any questions relating to that subject. Thanks, James.
No, thanks, Chris. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Chris is one of the best online learners there is. I really do believe that. So thanks for sharing that, Chris. Wise words. So yes, thank you everyone for joining us. We've taken enough of your time. We really do appreciate that the response that you've given to our solution. It has been overwhelming and has been we're very proud, but we also are humbled to serve you at this time. So we will do our best to serve you over this time that schools are shut. We know this is a challenging time for educators and for parents and for learners. Hang in there. We need to help each other through this. And if Advantage Learn can be of any assistance, we are only just an email or a phone call away or a live chat. So do get hold of us. But thank you very much for your time. That's it from us for now. Do follow us on socials, do subscribe to our newsletter so we can keep you informed. And if anyone needs a walkthrough of the platform in the future, any other educators, please get them to reach out to us and we can schedule another session to take them through, or they can watch this session that we've had today. But thank you for your time. Be safe and healthy out there. All the best. But that's it for today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.